Hello, everyone. We will be waiting maybe 1 more minute or two for people to join, and we will start shortly. Okay, so hello, everyone. We'll be starting on time so that people who joined will not wait for long, and others will join later if late. Anyway, the session will be recorded in our channel, so you can always see it later on. First of all, looking forward to have you all today here. It's really good that we continue doing all the sessions and sharing our knowledges around the community. So if you have any topic in mind, feel free to reach out to us and with a proposed topic, so maybe next session can be held by you. Today, we will have a presenter, Prashant from Emirates, who will be talking about loan testing in Python from zero. So it will be totally practical session. So you will have a knowledge on how in practice you can actually use the tool itself. And yeah, if any questions, you can always write in chat at the end of the session, or maybe on the, like, we don't want to interrupt the speaker. So at the end of the session, we will ask all of them and they will be answered. So please feel free to write anything in chat. And I think I'll just give Pradap the mic. Please go ahead. It's all yours. You're on mute, Prashant. Just.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to see you all in this session. I hope you will enjoy this session. This session is all about the load testing tool called Locust. It's written in Python and for the Python users. So hope you know about me, and if you don't know about me, myself Prashant. I live in Dubai. I'm an automation architect. I am passionate about automation. I'm a contributor for a lot of open source tools. Also, I have written a book in 2015 about Selenium. And yeah, this session will be more like a practical session. So please don't miss even a bit of information from the start. Even a small topic is very important. It's like a continuation of the topic. So please be present. I hope you will like this very much. I will approximately take like 1 hour for the session, and it will be mostly like a practical session. So you will enjoy throughout the session. I'm sharing my screen. I do recorded the presentation in a video format, so you can see it. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible, Prashant. Go ahead.
Perfect. So this is load testing in Python with locust from zero. So hope you all know about locust. It's for load testing applications I would like to go with the basics first. I split it into different parts. Even the basics, there are a few things to cover so that you won't be missing anything. So I would like to uh, start with the basic script first. I'm using VS Code because um, even you can use this PyCharm for it because it has autocomplete. But I don't want to go with that because I want you guys to understand um, code very well. That's why I wanted to go with the Visual Studio Code. I don't have any autocomplete plugins installed. Say meetup. It's a new project. I'm creating a new project. So, to start with, let me create the requirements.txt file. That's a basic. That's a basic file to put all the libraries that we need to install in first hand. So we need locust library. Yeah, at the moment this is enough. So I want to do this Python setup. I'm using Python 3. So I want to create the environment first. So everything I'm setting it in it is like a temporary environment in the same folder, so I can reuse it. Let me source this. Once again, if you have any doubts, please write it in the YouTube channel, and I will look at it once the session got ended. Please feel free to write any questions. So I'm going to install the library. So it will it will download the library inside this bin, and then we can execute it directly from the same terminal. So right now you see this locust command that is active to execute, and that's what we need at the moment. So I would like to create a source folder and then create a test file so that we can start adding the scripts over there and practice over there. So the basic local script, I am not going to use the HTTP request at first hand. I would like to go with a normal test. Let's create a class. Let's call it this class name as my user. And I'm going to inherit a class called user. This is a generic test. I'm going to call this a user. And to call inherit, we have to import this from the locust library. So that's it. So this is definitely not going to work. So because I didn't define any method inside it. But anyway, let's execute this first and then we will go forward. We'll see the error, then we will modify the script and then we'll go ahead. So in order to execute the locust test, you need to provide the file name. So it's inside source folder test. So it started the locust server. So let me it generally opens the port 8089, the locust in the local. So it will ask for the number of users. This is the interface, locust interface. You can either use this locust interface, or you can directly use the CLI to spin up the users, spawn rate and host, everything. You can do it from the CLI itself. But as a new user, I would prefer to go with this UI so that you will understand. Later, I will go on with the advanced concept. Let's see how it works. I'm giving one user, and one spawning rate is 1. So here I have given one user. This one user will start immediately. Let's say if I have 10 user, this 10 user will start by step with every 1 second. Here spawn rate is means as per every second it will hatch it will hatch one user at a moment. So it takes 10 seconds to hatch 10 users, and then it will go ahead. So here spawn rate is in seconds, measured in seconds, and I have given two. Let's say if I give two, value 2, and it will hatch users by 2 in 1 second. So per second it will hatch two user until it reaches 10. It will hatch 2 by 2. So it takes 5 seconds to hatch 10 users. At the moment I am not using HTTP user, so I leave it blank. So I am running this. Let me keep this aside, and let me see, there are a lot of errors coming here because there are no tasks defined. There is no method defined as well. Task is kind of like attribute, like you use in different languages. Let's say in JUnit we use at the right test. Similar to that, we have something called at the right task here. That's a decorator we call here. So let's quit this test, and then let's modify that. So you have to add a decorator called task, and then you have to define the method. Let's say demo, and we are inside the class, so define self, and let me, I'm here. I'm going to and also you are importing this this decorator, so you have to import from the locust task. So I'm running anyway. This test is again going to fail. Luckily it's passing, even though I didn't give the wait time. It is passing. So it keep on scaling up, keep on iterating over the same user again and again. So I just quit it. I want to make sure this there should be some delays. There should be some delays between these iterations happening, because anyway, load testing, it will keep on running the same task. The user will be doing the same task again and again. So in order to avoid that, in order to put some weights, you have to define an attribute called wait time. This attribute is actually part of locust. I am defining it, and there are three methods. Especially the basic one is between. It is more like a I'm going to give an initial set value as well as the um, finish value. So here this value is in seconds. So this is the initial value, then this is the final value. So the wait time will be either 1 second or 2 seconds. So let's see how this works. Let's run this. So between is not defined. Let's define here, and then it should work. So you see, there are some delays. It can be either 2 seconds or 1 second. So if you want to measure that, that can also be measured easily. We have a daytime in Python. So time, calling this method. If you have issues seeing this text, please write it in the YouTube so that Alona will convey me. See, it is started in 11. It is 2 seconds delay right now, 2 seconds and 1 second and 2 seconds likewise. So that's perfectly working according to our plan. Let's say if I give 1 and 1, so it will stick to 1 second. If you see here 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, it stick to 1 second. So likewise you can increase to 10 seconds or something, so that it will be the numbers of seconds will be starting from 1 to 10 seconds. It can pick any number in the middle, and it will put the weights in the middle. So I hope you understand this clearly. Let's see. So now you have you understood how this await works. Let's see few other methods apart from between. There is something called the constant. So the constant, you can have only one keyword. Let's say if I put the two keyword instead of between 1 comma 1, it's like an alternate method. So you can also use this. Oh, constant is not defined. Okay, so you have to define uh, these methods or these attributes or these classes whenever you use it. I'm not using autocomplete because I want to show you guys well, because if I use autocomplete from PyCharm, you guys may miss something. It will be fast. I don't want to make it fast. That's why it's slow. I mean, it's slow. Also, every time I'm giving this number of users and spawn rate here, so going forward, I'll make it from the CLI so that there won't be any disturbances. There won't be any delays. We have limited time, that's why. So see here, it is waiting for 2 seconds, like 14, 16, 18, 20. It's like even all the time. So it's exactly waiting for 2 seconds. And now let's put between spacing. This is a third method. It is called between spacing. So constant spacing, sorry, it is a constant spacing. So I would like to tell you guys what is constant pacing. Let's say I give 5 seconds and the user take let's literally 2 seconds to execute this task. So what it will do this is it will subtract 2 from 5 and it will wait for 3 seconds and then it will continue. So this is more like an intellectual way of defining these weights. It will be more useful and it will avoid delays at some point. So again, I'm telling like a constant pacing is actually a small concept. It will do a big job. Let's say if the user take 2 seconds to let's say he take 2 seconds to execute a task, then it will then our script, it will subtract 2 seconds out of this 5 that I defined here. If it is 50 seconds, then it will subtract 2 seconds out of 50 seconds, and then it will wait for 48 seconds, and then it will go ahead. So this is the concept, and it's a beautiful concept that we have in locust. And so far you have seen the normal usage of normal user inherited class, and now I would like to show you how the HTTP based test works. So let me inherit the HTTP class instead of user. So since you define this HTTP user, you can define host. So now you are free to use this host. You can use the HTTP URL www.google.com. So now I'm executing this task and it's throwing error. Okay, wait, mouse and one cricket. Okay, wait time between 1 comma. So there are 2 arguments. So I updated it. Let's run again. Let me shrink this down. Okay. So you see this host is directly imported inside this UI interface. So I don't need to manually give this host directly. It's imported from here. This is one way of defining here. See, the test is executing perfectly. So this is a basic test. Again, I'm telling that this is a part of a basic section. I would like to go quickly. Let me remove this date and time. If not, it will keep on showing in the logs. So I would also like to show you the way how we can define this host in the terminal instead of defining it from the code level. So you have to put a CLI called host, and then you have to execute it. I removed it from here. So you see, you can still see this host over here. So this is the beauty of using this from the CLI. Also, I would like to run all the user as well as the spawn rate directly from the CLI. So for that, you have to use for user, you have to use -u, and you can define anything. I set it 1, and for spawn rate, it is R. Spawn rate, I'm again setting it to 1. So let's run this. So you see, it automatically picked value 1 in the number of users, and spawn rate as 1 automatically. Again, it starts running the test. Good. Again, I'm quitting. Let's see the next topic. So we have seen the host, HTTP user class. We've seen the wait time. Let's go part 4. It is a multiple user class. So far we have seen only one user class. Let's see how we can define couple of classes and how to execute it with weightage as well. Since I'm using only one task, I didn't define any weight at the moment. But if you use multiple tasks, you can split the weights over there. Also, if you define multiple classes, you can define the weight specific to the class as well. Uh, in here, let's copy this class and duplicate another class. So you have to rename the class name. The first one I renaming it as my web user, and the second is my mobile user. So there are two classes here. Let's change here web. This method name I set it mobile. So web user, mobile user. So let me run it. So I don't want to use HTTP. This is just a concept. I want you guys to understand. So I'm replacing HTTP user with user, removing host. And one more thing, like if you want to set a timer, like within 10 seconds, my test should quit. You can set it like -t space 10 seconds. Like this, you can set it. So there is an error in the, okay. So the seconds works only if it's a headless mode. So I'm removing it. Later we can see how headless mode works. See, it works now. Refresh, run. So you see here, it's executing web user, but it is not picking the mobile user. It is because it's getting into this class, and it's quitting by itself, and it's keep on iterating within the web user. It's not even going to the mobile user. Let's for this kind of reason, we have to put the weightage properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the weight here, so you will understand this weight concept. It's pretty easy. So I'm defining this. This weight is specific to the user level. So if I have a couple of users, so let's say I have 3 users. So two times it will run this class, and one time it will run this class. So since I given weight 1, among 3 executions, it will be like one time this mobile user will be executed, and the remaining 2 times this web user will be executed. So I would like to define 3 instead of 1 in the user. So let's see how this works. And you see 3 times web, and 1 time it. So generally, if you put some rational values, it will be picking like 2 times. It will pick this class, and 1 time it will pick this. So this is the concept. So you see right now both the classes are getting executed because of this wait attribute. So this is all about wait. And also you can define the wait inside the task itself instead of giving the wait right here. So let's say the task I gave 2 and here it's 1. I'm executing and running it. So you see it's the same concept, like 2 times it ran a web user and 1 time it executed a mobile user. It's the same concept if you see over here. But this is like a task level, and the previously what we have seen is a class level. So again I'm quitting this. Let me see the next topic. I hope you understood the concept so far. And everybody have this in the mind, like why don't we run without the GUI mode, without the UI mode? So you can definitely use it. Use this a headless mode, like in Selenium you would have used this headless. Similarly, in locust we have the same concept. So if you put a headless, it will bring all the data, it will be like more like a messy output over here. So maybe we won't like this kind of UI to see here. So what I want to do is, like, let me quit here, quit by this, and I have to show by only the summary part. So only summary. So you see, you can see only the output. So this is really good for you to see what's happening in a high level. Mostly I will use a headless because it's quite easy for me. And next I'm going to use the hooks, and in any test framework, the hooks plays a major role. Like if you start a db, if you clean db or quit db, you have to do something on prior, you use hooks. But here in this locust, we have both hooks as well as even listener. Both is more like a similar concept, but here on start hooks is more like a user level hooks. So user level hooks means sorry, no, this task level, because sorry, it's a user level, but it whenever a user is going to do some action, this on start will pick it, and once the whole iteration is done, when the user wants to quit the process, then this on stop method will be running. So let's go and see that. And I don't want to complicate it with multiple classes, so I would like to go with one class here. So here you don't need any task decorator for this on start, so it's just a method. Locust knows about it well. So I'm going here on start. Let me put something like before user starts. Let me write one more method here, def on stop. So print after user stops. Let's run this. See, so there are I am running a 3 users, so it may be confusing. Let me use 1 user so you understand it well. So you see, before user starts, and then it iterates only the task and task and task. And when I quit it, you see, it's I just interrupted it, but still it executes this after user stop. Let me put some timer in here so that you will see it clearly. Let me put 5 seconds. So before user starts, use web user, and then it quits. So you see, once it got quit, it came inside this on stop, and then it finishes it. So this is the beauty of on start. Similarly, we need to see how this even listener works. The even listener is more like usually in Selenium and all in usual test frameworks. You have seen like a before suit, before all. It's something very much needed. So we cannot just depend on the user, just user level start or hooks like start stop, like user level thing. You have it gives more details, like it will be more useful, like this kind of listener, if it starts before the test suit or before everything. Let's go with that. um, I would like to start creating these methods outside the class, because it's independent of the class. You can define it outside itself. So start user, start process of I need to put a decorator called events, and there is something called test start dot add listener. This is a listener that kickstarts it. So test start dot add listener. I need to define it over here. Similarly, say for all. Let me quit this first. Let's run it. So it requires some keyword arguments as well. So let me give it over here. So sorry, so we are not calling it inside the class, so we have to remove the self. So that's it. So see, it executed this before all first, and then it executed after all. So it took like 5 seconds to execute it. So it is that's exactly like what we expected. If you want to see it in a wide hand, I'm duplicating it, and I'm running it, this thing. Let me put it mobile user. So if you see here, again I have to define the weight to sorry, I have to define. Yeah. So see, you see here before all started, and the rest of the thing works here, and when I quit it, it will execute the after all. So this is the concept. Like this is more like before all, like before the suit, and this is like after all. But if you define on start, it will execute before each user. So I defined here a couple of user, so it be completely different. This both are different. I hope you understand what I mean. So we are done with the locust basics. If you have any doubts, please write it in the channel. We have uh, 1 more hour, but I will try to make it early. So this is all about the basics. And the next is all about the tasks. The next is all about the task. So we have seen in the task, we have already seen this part. We have given a task a weightage directly in here, so that depends on the task weightage, it executes a task from the user level. And I would like to go with the reusable part, because you see here, if you write too much of code here, reusable codes, then it will be more complex and messy. So I want to show you guys how we can optimize these kind of things by using the task. So I'm using the same file, removing the previous ones. I remove the weight. I wanted to remove this part as well, and define this outside the class, and then I have to reuse it inside the class. Let's say I have two methods. Well, and if you run this, definitely it's not going to work, because we haven't defined the tasks. So we have to define the tasks. So it's a no task defined. So here it comes, like we have attribute called tasks. That is like a list of tasks you can define inside here. So we have both web as well as mobile. So I'm directly defining it inside here. And if you execute right now, see, it's executing it. See, a big chunk of code can be like a big mass code can be made chunks like this, and you can reuse it again and again over it. And also you will ask, like, how I can give the weightage over it. And that's also a simple concept. Instead of defining it like a list, you have to make it in a dictionary. Here, if it's a curly brace in Python, we call it as a dictionary. And web, I'm giving a weightage 2, and mobile, I'm giving weightage 1. So the web, it will be, let's say, user 2. So see, web, it executes the more, uh, and the mobile, it's executing once. So this is how it works. So if you want to give the weightage, and then you have to use this dictionary format and to use it. And now let's go with the task set. So the task set is more like an advanced concept. This is like a primary basic way of reusing. But if you have a complex project, then this is not going to help. So what you do is you create a class, and you can define multiple classes inside it. It's like a nested class. Or you define a class, and you can describe multiple sets of tasks. So that's what we are going to see. And if I say theory, you won't understand for sure. And I would like to show you in practical. So I'm going to use the same class file. I'm going to create another class. Let's say I call it as like modules for your understanding. And you have to define a class. You have to inherit a class called a task set inside. So this does a job. As you know, like if you inherit any class, you have to always call here events. I'm not using it. So yep. So let's see if it works. Definitely it won't work, because we call this methods inside the modules class. So I have to remove this part, and I have to define modules. Still, let's see if it works. No, it's not defined. So the task here. So you have to define the task decorator like this before each method that we're going to execute. So this is the right way of defining it. So let's see how if it works now. Yeah, it works. So it works perfectly. So this way you can have n number of modules, like n number of classes, and then you can call it directly or the parent class like this. You can define something module A, module B, and then you can call it likewise in the list. So this is all about the task set. Okay, so let's see what's next. That's a sequential task set. And right now, if you see, when I execute, it's randomly executing. See, mobile is running first rather than web user to execute first, because we gave this method first. But in practical, it's not going to work. We have to tell them, we have to tell the script, hey, I need to execute this in a sequential order. So locust, actually, it's a really brilliant. We have a method, we have a class called sequential task set. Sequential task set, I have to import this over here. So by doing this, let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. It works perfect. So you define the sequential task set instead of the task set, and you can see this working in a sequential manner. So I hope you're clear with this. Let's go with the next part. That's a nested task set. And let's see how this can be working. So you see right now you are calling these modules inside this task list. Next is I'm going to call another class inside this modules class. So let me call it as module A. And yeah, if you want it in a sequential manner, you can define it as well. It is based on what you need. So I would like to create one more class. Let's say module B, and I have to let me change this method names. Let's say login A, logout A, login B, logout B, login A. B. Oh, let's execute if it works. Of course, it won't work because it asks for the task not just in the method level, it also expects this task from the class level. So you have to define it over here. Let's see again if it works. Yeah, it works, and let's see if there are any issues in it. See, it's picking only the first module A. It's not even going inside the module B. It got stuck with this module A, and it keep on iterating over and over. It really don't know what's happening in module B. It's not even worried about this module B. Let's see. Let's take a look how we can fix it. Since we said this, sequential task set, let's give something something to stop this, break this loop and go back to the next, and then we have to break that, and then it will keep on iterating over and over throughout the class modules. So there is something called self.interrupt. This is a method that locust created, so it is not going to stop with it. Let's see if it works. Login A, login B. Yeah, it works perfect. It works perfect. So login A, login B, again login A, log out. It's perfectly working and iterating over and over. So this is all about the nested task set. So we used a sequential task set. You can use it or not use it, and also you can give the weightage over here based on the task. Like I give 2. If you don't want logout A to happen, then you can give it 0. So it will work uh, as per your as per your weightage measurement. See, it's not even picking a logout A, and and also we didn't give self interrupt in login A. That's why it's not stopping by it. You keep on iterating with the same method and method. So if I give this one over here, so you have to be very careful in it. See, it skipped this module A and moved back to module B. That's perfect. And we are done with the second exercise, second concept. Let's go back to the jump to the third concept. It is HTTP requests. This is the main part that we want to go into and work on. And please bear with me. We are already crossed some time, but I hope you will bear with me and be patient to get interested and to go forward and wait. Thank you for the patience. So in the HTTP request, we are going to play with the API request. Let's see how this works. So like I said you earlier, we want to replace user with HTTP user, and I'm not going to touch this by time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce this host, and I actually picked something for you guys before I start with. So let me take a get request. I have somewhere. Resting wait. This thing is very popular for testing purpose. I'm picking this get request. So what we can do is we can give the base URL here, and we can remove this part, and we can reuse. We can call it in the get call. So we have given wait time. We have defined the host base URL, and now we have to define the method. So let me launch URL. Let's say so. I would like to go with PyTest because this will take time because we have less time. Let's start from the PyCharm itself. Open desktop meetup. Come on. So let's go to the terminal. It's indexing. Let's wait for a few moments. Okay, so now we have to source the local from the V environment, that virtual environment that we have set. Okay, also we have to point the preference. I hope we must do it. Interrupt. Okay. Okay, this is meetup. Yep. It's already over there, so no problem. But mm, mm, mm. equation is not empty. Okay. Then oh, okay. Yeah. So it should be okay now. Let's see if requirements has all things like. Yeah. So, three. Right. Perfect. So let's go with from here. HTTP user, like it's replaced here. Oh, it's a site. I hope it's much visible for you guys. So I created a method, and I would like to call this host remaining with a get request. So serve dot, they have something called client to call the get request. So what we have to do is you have to call the full URL here. So as we see here, they have some records. If you call here, so I wanted to get those response in the output. So apart from this, you can name it directly, like let's say test A, and let's see how this works. And for sure it won't work because we haven't defined a task decorator. So I added it as well. So locust, yeah. Yeah. So um, here I would like to remove the headless mode so that I can show you guys the GUI part because it's very important part here. I would like to show what's happening uh, when we hit API and get the responses. I will show both get as well as post in this example. So let me go with this. See, we have already given the host. It's a base URL, and I'm spinning only with one user as I given in the CLI. I'm starting it. Now you see the test A that I defined in the name. It's coming over here, and you see the charts. There are no known failures, and you see the response time is leveled up. When I started, it has it got a heap, and the users I gave only one user. I would like to show you with more users right now, so that you know how this works. I would like to put 10 users, and let me put one hatch rate. Let's see how this works. If you see here, if you see here, for every second, this is like a 2 seconds gap. It's keep on increasing by 2, and by 10 seconds, it increased by 10 users. So you see, and once it reaches a 10, it's a it's kind of constant, and it goes, it keep on iterating over and over. So if there are any failures, it will throw here, and if there are any exceptions also, it will throw here. You can also set this fail assertions, exceptions, everything in your test script. That's what we are going to take a look at. So So please bear with me. There are a few things that you have to go through. Let's. This is just a start that what we have seen, and let's see. Let's jump into the post. So it's a very interesting part. I have already created. I have a API for you guys to see this exercise. So I place it here. This is the post method. So I put it post, enlarge it. Sorry, no. So likewise, I gave a name here, but you need to give the body and all. So I have a body. So this is a username and password. Basically, generally, I'm going to log in it. So let me get this format. So we have an attribute called data. So in this data, yep. So I just copied here. So this data I have copied over here, but you cannot just give directly like this kind of JSON. So you need a actually JSON library for it. So you have to import. So I'm going to use it over here. So JSON dot data, not data, is dumping it. So it's a dumps. I'm going to call this. Yeah. Okay. Make it large so that you understand. Okay. So I defined this body. Now I would like to add headers if needed, but I think in this task I don't need headers, but generally, yeah, any headers is okay for me. So let's see how this works, and definitely it will work, as I believe. Um, so yeah, it started running. It's the same concept. Right now, what I want to show you guys is like how to manipulate with the response data. So it's just a post request. I want to see whether if it's throwing a error, or how we can manipulate it, how to get the cookies and reuse it for another API request. So this is something very important. That's why I said like what we have covered so far is very important. Even the small bits of work that we have seen, that's very important. So so what we need is let's say we have to collect the response. So here so we have some beautiful implementation over here. So in the response we can easily capture the status code, like what's the status code. If you want to print it over here first. Let's see what's happening here. See, it's throwing 200 status, and I have to set some conditions over here so that you can fail or pass the script. So if response code is print this, and then I want to make it success, right? So success of, so in case if it is a failure, so again I want to make it a fail. So here you can write something like a failed. I'm going to execute right now. Let's see. Okay, there's a failure here. Say hi throws failure. success of, okay. Okay, so the reason why it is throwing error is because we have to define the catch response. If we are not defining catch response, it will always throw this kind of error. So we have to set catch response equal to true. So by defining this, you can actually trap the success well. So you see here, still we get an error, got an unexpected argument. Okay, let's say catch response. Okay, so, so you see, it's actually passing, and uh, and let's make some human error over here so that it will throw um, failure and it fails. Actually, the failures are trapped over here. So since we have catch a response error, you will see I have customized this text field. So that's the reason that it's trapped over here. So this is a basic concept. And like when you need to do some assertions for success criteria, failure criteria, then you can do this. And what I want to show you guys right now is how to manipulate the response output. Let's say I want to pick the cookies and I have to reuse for the next API call. So I have to let me create another method to what I have to do is let me define. Let me define a variable because usually when we run with some authentication or something like we get cookies generally. So you might need to reuse these cookies again and again for further steps. It's like a flow. You can use this kind of load testing, kind of like a flow testing as a user. I log in, I do this action, and then go ahead. So for this reason, that you need this kind of response captures. So what I'm going to do is here I'm trapping the response output, especially this. It's under Moodle session. So it should be definitely with client cookies of session. So let's see if we have to declare it first. So move it to init method. Okay, so here, right. So I have to get this output out of this task and reuse it for another task. So display cookie. Okay, so print web small. So I'm going to reuse this session ID. So I'm here. Also, we have to see if it will be a sequential, it will run it sequentially or not. So for sure it won't work. So I have to make it sequential. I have to let me create a class, user behavior, class. This should be sequential. Everything inside. Perfect. Okay. So let me run. Let me see if this displays the session ID or not. No task defined. So we have to define just before the class. Let's run it again. Okay. We have to remove unwanted arguments. We don't need these things. Okay. Very good. Should work. Let's see. But we are not getting the session ID. Let's see why it's not picking. Should be something wrong. Yeah, right. So sorry. So generally we are picking these cookies from the response. So I made a small mistake. Let's see. Once again, error. Let's see. Okay. Again, I in the previous execution I manually made it wrong. Let's see. This time it works. See, it's actually getting the session ID perfectly, but there are some other issue that we can fix it. I know what the reason that it's failing. Let me remove this response code. It will confuse you. But you see, each time it is running, it's picking different. It is picking different session IDs. The only reason that it is failing because I have like multiple user, like I get confused with this. First, I have to remove I have to clear the cookies after each user got executed. After a user execute a task, it should clean the cookies. If not, it will bring issues. So there is a command internally in the locust called like cookies are clear. So let's do it. Once I get the session ID, then I'm going to clear it. So client dot cookies dot clear up. So by doing this, I expect it should work fine. Let's see. You see, there are no interruptions here. It's working fine, but still, it's fine. It's perfect. No issues with this. It's working perfect. So you see these kind of actions, like user actions that you can do kind of like load testing in real time. So you can reuse this kind of session ID and you can pass it and you can run another APIs and you can continue likewise. So I'd like to switch to another concept because we have less time. At least there are a few things that's missed. I want to tell you there is something called a tag concept. So tag is more like you give priority, sorry, it's not priority. It's like if you want to execute specific task, then you can tag. Let's say I need to log in, and I have to give I have to run only this task and not this one. So in that case, you can use this tag called the tags. So I have to call this. Let me execute. I will try to finish up the remaining concept very quickly. Please bear with me, like 10 minutes maximum. Oh, sorry. So I didn't give the tags here. So I have to give tags login. So it won't be picking, it won't be printing a session ID at the moment. So that's a plan. It will just execute and that's it. So it's yes, right. What we get is right because it's not clearing the cookies, and that's the reason that it's not executing this task, and thus it's not clearing the cookies, and it's throwing this error. That's what intended and perfectly executed. So likewise, you use this in the JUnit, TestNG, or whatever testing framework. Usually we have these tags. It's a very useful concept. Like you can separate based on the environments, whatever. Let's jump into the next concept. It is mostly distribution. Yes, right. I think this is the last concept. Because we have to distribute, because let's say I'm executing my load test in the same machine. What if the machine is unable to handle the request, the payloads, like the number of users that we give? It will break at some point that we think that it's actually a genuine issue, but it's definitely not. So we have to make sure that we have a good environment, good platform to execute if we give with a good amount of user load. So that's a reason that you have to distribute the test good. In my laptop anyway it will work because I have 64 GB RAM itself, so anyway it will be working. But but definitely it is not going to work if you're going to run this in like a 2 GB RAM or something, if you want to go give like a 500 user load or something like that. So in locust we have a concept called master worker instead of slaves. We call it as like a worker. Master is more like a hub, like if you know Selenium grid, you know, like a master nodes, hub nodes concept. Here exactly like that. Master is more like a hub, worker is more like a slave. So I would like to show you how this works practically. And now, so I'm going to remove this tag stubs. Let me remove this thing as well. I don't want to make it fail or pass anything. I want to just leave it as it is. The concept is different at the moment. Okay. We are going to execute this. From the we are going to launch the hub first, and then we are going to launch the workers later. So in order to do that, you have to define this CLI called master. So I ran this master, but let's say if it really start working or not. There are it mentioned like there are no worker servers connected. Please connect the server. So there won't be any executions going on. See, request is 0. If you see, nothing is happening inside. Nothing happened because this is just a hub. We marked this test run as a hub. This is more like a load balancer. It spin up the user. Like if I have two user, if I have two workers, and then it will push one user to one worker, and it will push the another user to the another worker. So this is same concept that we have in Selenium grid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the worker. Right now I have only one user and only one worker, so I want to make it worker. So if I run this, definitely it will start picking and running. See here, it started executing it. So currently one client ready to swarm. So let's see how this works. See, it started picking and it started running. Previously, it wasn't running. Now it started working. So let's say if I'm quitting it in the hub, it will quit all the worker nodes. So if I switch to the worker node, see, it's already closed. So let's say I give I set let's say I'm running the master first. Sorry, I have to give. Let me put two users. I want to split the two user, one to one worker node and another to another worker node. So I'm going to spin up two workers right now. So here I mentioned one user. So definitely it started picking one user, and here I will mention one. Yeah. Then what it will do is eventually it will split. It will split one user. It will assign one user to one worker node and another worker node to another user to another worker node. This is how it works actually. One more thing, like I would like to show you, because if you want to expect two worker nodes, you can also set this from the master. So here you have to define it, expect workers, let's say 2. So it will actually look for 2 workers. You see, please connect to, okay, so expect a worker. So here the keyword is worker, not workers. So this is an additional, see here, currently one client is ready to share swarm, and right now 2 clients are ready. This is just a concept that you can set or limit the number of workers that you have to execute from the master. So this is what we have seen it right now. More than this, you can also use the YAML files directly rather than defining everything over here. Like you can create something like any YAML file, like a master.yml. You can directly put the host over here instead of defining the host here. You can remove it. You can define it here. Let's say it should be headless. Yeah, you can make it headless, true. Yeah, and there are fewer, like is it master? Yeah, it is master, true. And spawn rate, you can give directly like a spawn rate. I want to make it so quick, so that's why give me 2 minutes. Spawn rate I given 1, and yeah, that's it. And you have to mention the locust file, like locust file. I have to give it's the test file is under test, so I will give like this. So what I have to do is I have to just run the uh, master.yaml, and it will do its job. Let's say okay, it's under okay. So what you have to do is you have to put it in the config CLI. Sorry, so you have to give it in the config CLI. Now if you run it, so this is like additional layer that you can use it. Locust file. So it's like an additional, see here, it is directly running from the, you can also put all these attributes inside the slave or worker.yaml, and you can run spin it from here. It is easy configuration rather than defining it in the class or from the CLI. So I would always prefer to go like this. Right now I'm switching back. This is the final part. This is like a Dockerization, like a scaling a worker node directly from the Docker containers. If you wish to go through all these, like I have written a lot of uh, I have already written a lot of this kind of exercises in my GitHub repo, so that you can go here and get benefit out of it. It's called the locust boilerplate. Please take a note of it, and it will be really useful. Like I have given a lot of exercise that I haven't covered in this short call. Let me create this Docker compose.yaml file, and I'm just defining it. So here it is inside source test here as well. Okay, PS, nothing is running. Okay, docker compose. Oh. So I'm going to execute I'm going to execute a test from here. There's a right command to do it, like docker run, and it will automatically it's spin up. I have given 4 users here. So all right, so here I have to queue the right. This is our test. If you see here, I am running this from the Docker container directly. Like I give 4 user and 1 spawn rate, and give the host here in the host. It's directly running inside the Docker container and not inside my direct local. So it's running perfectly. So I would also like to show you how to scale up Docker containers. I mean, like we have master and the worker nodes. I would like to, this is a final part. I would like to show you guys how it works. It's like we can scale up the worker nodes as much as that we need. Let's say if something is running, nothing. Okay. So I scaled up 4 worker nodes, but I have given only I have given 4 users, so it will automatically split it. Sorry, I haven't given, so I'm giving 4 here and 1, so it will perfectly launch in 4 different containers at the same time. It will be happening. So you see here, this is the easy way of spinning up the worker nodes using the hub master node. This can be this. You can also point to the worker node from the different machines directly through this config YAML file that I shown already. So if you go to locust GitHub, you will find it. It's very simple concept, but overall you have seen a beautiful session. I believe, I hope so. It's even though it took like 1.5 hours, I hope it's really worth it. And if you see here, this is the total request per second. Maybe I can show you guys well. Request per second. We have 4 workers running and 4 users, and this is the number of users. See here, it's like 4 users up and running, and there are no known failures. Everything's throwing 200. If you want to download these stats, you can get it from here, and yeah, perfect. You have 4 workers here. That's it. That's it from my side. I hope you loved and enjoyed this session. Thank you for your patience. It's 1.5 hours. I'm going to pick up each questions that you thrown out in the YouTube channel. And I actually wanted to show even more things, but time is very much limited. That's why I cut it down. But still, you have like 90% of what locust has at the moment. And thank you so much for your time, and that's it. Yep.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you for this informative session. Yeah, it took a little bit longer, so I think we have around 5 minutes to actually answer the questions. That's okay.
Yeah.
There's always a chance to write it in under the video, and maybe you can answer later.
Yeah.
So there's one about the code. Like, is it possible if you can share the GitHub if you have it, the code for the
Oh, sure.
tool?
I will
Yeah,
share
if
you.
you can share in chat, maybe guys can just pick it up.
But I will share with you better. You can because I don't have the running YouTube. Or else.
Okay, that's fine. I can share it. I can share it in the description, and then people
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I share you.
I'll I'll do the description one. And
Okay.
I wanted to ask from my side. So load testing is a wide used thing, and there are several tools in the market, popular, not less popular. So how this tool is like compared to, let's say, other tools that are on the market right now, what will be the benefit of this tool to be used for the companies?
That's a
If
good
we
question.
have it
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, if you see, it's more like people who love to use which language it is. The Python is kind of like booming, and people love to use Python. It's a very easy to write the scripts. Personally, I prefer writing scripts in a Python. I'm not telling that other languages are bad, but because it's very easy and very quick to write. It's very easy and very quick to write the test. So far you have seen in this session is how see I have completed the entire thing within 1.5 hours anyway. Because but in Java you have to do too many things. This is the best thing, and the people who love Python, they can use this tool. Like I love Python, I don't want to go to the Java, I can still use it. I still believe that every tool is good in market, and locust is also more similar to the other tools like gatling or something. But locust is something for the future generation, because right now Python is kind of often used. People are preferring Python due to its advantages. Like there are a lot of advantages, since everybody uses it. Even Ruby is another thing. But Python is platform independent. Linux or any machines, they have Python inbuilt. We don't need to configure anything as part of Python thing. So I feel like there are no disadvantages or advantages. Of course, like I said, it's easy to write the test. It's like I love Python, I'm writing in Python. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we won't really have time to cover more questions because the meeting will be over and it's
How
strict.
many questions we have overall? Yeah.
They were like actually the one about the code because they wanted to have a code itself, but we can maybe handle it later in the chat itself if people will write more a bit. So yeah, since we have 1 more minute, I just wanted to say thank you for the session. It's really informative, and the session itself will be in our channel so that you can view it and yeah, ask more questions as you have. And probably I will share your LinkedIn profile in the description so that people can maybe reach out to you directly in case of any suggestion, question, or whatever, or just maybe for communication itself, if you don't mind, so that we can maybe,
Yeah, no
yeah.
problem.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was a nice session and hope to see you soon in the next one.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.